Oh, I'm live. Hi. Hi, good morning. Let me check my dots. Does this sound okay? The but whatever. The power here is very weak. The hotspot is still very weak, so it's going to be creepy until I can afford to get my own access. But it's sunrise, and I had to change clothes because with the white background and light colors, my white ass hair bleaches out my face. So I was like, oh, holy shit. So good morning. Happy holiday if you're into it. Um, this is a video that I am frankly too fucking lazy to type. So it is a kind of okay, this watching thing, this gotta be like somebody watching, it's gotta be like me. You know, it gotta be like you count yourself or something. So I'm just gonna start it. I'm not gonna tell the person's business or anything like that. Uh, and hope that the sound quality is okay. See, I got sober in 2006. I only drank, as best as I can recall, 4 years tops. Tended bar like 4 years. So I drank 4 years. And I had drunk myself to death in 4 years. No, I'm right out of the big book with that. Um, got sober, should have been in rehab, no money. So I like went straight to work. Um, I didn't get those luxuries like doctors and that kind of shit. So in 2006, um, at some point, I think in 2007, I think my sponsor said, "You need to go see a doctor." And I'm like, "Well, I'm okay." And I'm like, "No, you need to go see a doctor. You know, you just go off the substance." So I go to see a doctor. One thing leads to another. And, you know, they only want to check what they want to check, especially in a sliding scale clinic. So they hear just newly sober. I had liver tests, I had blood tests. They even tested me for cancer, et cetera, et cetera. Less than a week after losing my job and getting sober, I got hired at another hotel. Okay, fast forward. I can't tell you exactly when. It may have been the following October. Uh, I just kept, instead of feeling better that I wasn't drinking anymore and I was, you know, cleaned up, feeling progressively worse and worse. And something that had started before I quit drinking was I was gaining weight. And I was a couple of times that I actually went like 3 days fasting just to pull the weight off and it wouldn't go. So anyway, sometime in the fall of the following year, we'll just say that, I put on like 65 pounds in a month. And I started getting really, really sick, really lightheaded, out of breath, so far. One thing led to another, and I had to fight this doctor to run the right test. And for this, I will always praise Mary Shomon because her book, Living Well with Hypothyroidism, saved my life. Anyway, one thing led to another, blah, blah, blah. Um, it eventually got to the point that I was so sick. And you work an 8-hour shift, 11 at night to 7 in the morning, that the general manager was getting out of bed and coming to check on me at like 4 in the morning because they were afraid that I was going to die at the desk. My shoes, I swell so bad that I couldn't even get Crocs on my feet by the end of my shift. It was bad. Back to the doctor, back to the doctor. And finally, the doctor just says, we've done everything that we know to do. And if you have any final business, final affairs, you need to get them in order. And believe it or not, it's not the first time a doctor's told me that. So I was like, that was no surprise. I knew I was fucking dying. I won't go to a doctor unless I think I am. So I'm driving home and thinking about, the nice thing about night audit is you got a lot of time to think. I'm driving home and I'm thinking, and I tried to take a leave of absence. I thought if I could get like 3 months and just do nothing but, change diet. No, no, we don't do that. So I would have to quit. How convenient. They don't have to pay any unemployment. But I was so sick at that point. And so I was like, okay, well, if all that I've done here working for you doesn't mean anything, then tonight's my last night and I'm not working a notice. No, no, no. So I left. Now, granted, during this time that I was sick, I have a habit of saving up 3 to 5 months rent. That's the first thing I do is save that up. I go without food to have that money put back. And I did have, I think 6 months put back. I didn't know what I was going to do for food or anything like that, but I had 6 months rent. So I'm driving home and I get right in front of the grocery store, about to come up the hill for, to where I lived. And I'm thinking all this stuff, and suddenly I remembered, and this was like a full body memory. I remembered being like 9 years old, sitting in front of the black and white Motorola TV in the living room, and watching this show. You probably remember it, called Mike Douglas. Oh my God, I hated him. But I only hated him because he came, and at 7 years old, what do you know about interviewing rich people? You don't know anything about talk shows or anything like that. And he would always sing, my God. So anyway, it's Mike Douglas. And I just remembered this one program, and I remembered it was summer. And I remember that. I mean, I was practically sitting in my living room again as a little kid. And when I say that, that means on the floor in front of the TV, not on furniture. And he had this man on his show. And this man was telling a story that he had gone to the doctor, and the doctors were like, there's nothing more we can do. You're going to die, And he had said, really? Hmm. Well, I'm not going to die in a damn hospital. And so he checked himself out of the hospital, moved into a hotel, wherever he lived, sent people to his house, had the doctors and nurses come to the hotel room, sent people to his house, and removed all his furniture because he hated his furniture, bought all new furniture. He took out the television and the radio, and he put in a film projector, the old timey film movie. So he had that in his house, and he could sit and watch movies. He bought all these old real movies. I mean, we're talking 1967, maybe, It says the connection is bad, so I'm waiting for that to go away. Please wait while we try reconnecting. So he has this video, not a video, there was no such thing. It was 1967 theater movie reels of his favorite movies, all comedies. Buster Keaton, old Red Skelton. He went through all these old comedic, comedian guys who I didn't know any of them. I'm 7. And had him take all his music out of his house, and he only kept records that reminded him of happy times or, brought happy memories or made him feel good. So he gets out of the hotel. He's already lived longer than the 2 weeks they gave him, goes to his apartment, wherever it was. It turned out it was New York. And he meticulously started at the front door of his apartment, and he went through it piece by piece. Everything in his apartment that when he picked it up, if it did not bring him a happy memory or completely neutral, he threw it out. If it was something given to him by somebody he didn't like, out it went. He did not go put it in storage. Chucked it. Because he said, if I put it in storage, douched his life. New dishes, new appliances he liked. He changed everything. Put plants in the house. Now, it turns out he was a very famous author. I don't know any famous authors, but he said he had a library and he emptied it. And he turned that into his theater where he watched movies. And trying to think, he went through his phone book. And anybody in that phone book who did not make him happy was out. I think he went without a phone. And it was like Mike Douglas was like, oh, but there was a lot of it I didn't grasp as a little kid. But it was very strange to be driving home from a job I had just quit with no notice, Butte, Montana, let's say 2007. After being told by the doctor, you need to get your affairs in order, there's nothing we can do. My doctors told me that. I got told that at 24 or something like that. But since that time, I've just been outside trying to count how many times I've been told that by medical practitioners since 2007. And I lost count at 5. So it was so vivid that I had to pull up on the sidewalk in front of the Safeway, in front of the grocery store. And I've had 2 epiphanies right in front of that grocery store and let it run out. And I was like, son of a bitch. I couldn't remember the guy's name. I knew it was somebody that my mother read. I told you mother read Casey and Jess Stern. Who else did she read a lot? We'll just leave it at that. Edgar Casey, Jess Stern, that kind of thing. And I'm like 15, and for me, that's bizarre. And I'm thinking about it. And I'm like, yeah, well, and I'll be dead anyway. It's not like I've got anything to lose because at that point, no family connection, nobody. I get home and I look around the apartment and I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'm doing this. A little later, and I don't remember where, I may have had internet for a while. I don't know. Well, the man's name was Norman Cousins. That was on that show. And the weird thing about, if you remember Mike Douglas, enough to remember Mike Douglas, was he was the only guest Mike had that day. And Mike didn't sing. And Norman Cousins started his own movement. It was kind of like the laughter thing. It was like positive to look up. But this gives you an idea of my childhood, that I knew who Norman Cousins, I knew what he did, and I knew the difference between him and Norman Vincent Peale. That's another one my mother read. I remembered that in that TV show, he said, then I had to teach myself how to think. and how to talk. And it had to do with reprogramming himself to say positive. Even if you're cussing somebody out, you can still stay positive. To laugh, that laughter's all about it. And there's even a yogic practice of laughter. Um, and I started purging the apartment in Butte, which is like 2 blocks. We can see it from the deck. And like over the years, I've collected a lot of medicine stuff, lots of rocks. I mean, that's why some of my shit's so heavy to move, is because it's literally fucking boxes full of rocks. Um, some of them are medicine gifts, others mean something, that kind of thing. I had to go through every single thing. And I am weird that way. I don't remember by the time I go from here upstairs what I was going to do. But you show me something in that pile of medicine stones, I remember who gave it to me. I remember why. I remember where they got it and how long ago. There were photographs of my ex. Um, my ex took a lot of photographs, and then he kept them all, and he sent me shit photos, and most of them of him. Out it goes. Clothes. Clothes that made me feel fat. Out you go. I just put on 65 pounds. Everything made me feel fat. I went out and did the same thing that he did. I bought new bedding. I did not have the money to do that, but I did it. What else? I, it's that phrase, and I say it all the time. But the only thing we have to change is everything. So when you told me, and I suspected something was going on, I hate kind of hyper awareness sometimes because I feel like a lot of shit isn't any of my business. And I don't normally pipe up and say, I have this thing and I really need to tell you about it. So just know that for me to say anything without first being asked is way out of character for me. But I am really compelled to tell you about this story. The part that broke my heart was I had complete Stephen King. I've been a Stephen King junkie since high school. Out it went because horror, politics, had to go. I was a video manager. I have friends in show business. I know a lot about films. I have a lot of movies. And I had to go through them. And only the videos that I needed for art or made me laugh. Everything else, out it went. Horror, suspense, really great performances and stuff, out it went. Family, half sister and all that. I told you about that, those people have never been there for me ever. And wouldn't be there for me. That's why I didn't call anybody. Everything about them, out it went. And it couldn't go into storage. This was a breaking free. I'm just trying to think, just all kinds of stuff. And it took days. As sick as I was, it took days because I had to really, this is the red pig of doom. This will always make me laugh. But The people that I learned about this thing from are the very people who tried to hurt me over in Missoula, the very ones. So I have to actually think about that. And I'm like, nah, fuck them. This is the red pig of doom. But I'm not in that other position right now either. We always hang on to things and we don't realize it. But what it took before that, I had this like epiphany. What it took from driving my car from Safeway, you can Google Maps it, Safeway, to the apartment that I lived in, half a mile maybe, was the realization and the acceptance of the condition that went along with that kind of remembering. That was a spontaneous, AA people would call that was a God thing. It was spirit saying exactly what I needed to do. But between Safeway and the apartment, no income, no what it took, my friend, was the decision of yes, I will try this. I will do can make that decision. They always want to hold something back, or they're like, oh no, I have to have something for my security. Not privilege. I didn't have that luxury. I had already lost everything. I've lost everything I own. I can't even count all the times now. But that time, I knew that I had to, because I mean, it was literally life or death. I knew that I had to commit to it completely. I I wanted to tell you about that. It is not the first time that I've been told, there's nothing we can do. Well, what they mean is there's nothing they can do because I don't have the money for them to do what they need to do, which is like find a real doctor. But it came down to being very much the same thing as 1,000%. Now, for me, it didn't have a whole lot to go through anyway. It was not that big a deal. I had already lost my horses. I had already lost the cats. I had already lost, the job. And when it comes down to a matter of life or death, I would actually have to sit down and contemplate that because for years and years and years, I honestly did not believe that this life was, going to make it that much. It takes the kind of whole being commitment. Now, if you can find any Norman Cousins, if you can find any of his writing from that time, I'm never into I don't mind hearing people's breakthrough stories. Those help me a lot. But I usually don't stick around to like join the club or do their thing, that they're selling. And that I know of, he really didn't sell that much. He had a book and he wrote about it. And, there I sat in my living room, black and white TV, waiting on them to shut up so I could watch Dark Shadows. And given like 3 weeks. Well, the interesting part about that is me. With little to no medical assistance. I have done that and had it done for me. I really think that I really think that if I have a major karma in this lifetime, it's materialism because I've had exes steal everything. I've had family steal everything, destroy what couldn't steal. I've lost everything I own. I mean, I lost count at 9 times. So I'm thinking that's karma. So that's why I have the thing on my email that says minimalism is the least I could do. So I am obviously supposed to learn about materialism in this lifetime. So that's okay. I'll learn that because I don't want to come back. Now I had no grandchildren, spoken to either one of my kids in like 13 years. I had no family worth talking to, no longtime friends, or, I had no body to be alive for. I had to make this decision based on uh, based on my agreement with spirit. And I know that's really hard for people. I like I know. But that's the kind of intent, uh, that's the depth that all decisions, and for you too, because you've been told the same, you have to make up your mind. Do I want to stay? Do I want to go? This world is not going to be hurt by having someone else who is wise, who is educated. Because fuck knows, very few people in this species are behaving as such right now. I've heard you talk about kids, grandkids. You have a relationship with yours that I don't have. It takes that decision. Now, for me, some of the decision, say the second time, was I was in university and the Obamacare or whatever kicked in. Montana was in defiance with Medicaid. They wouldn't give Medicaid to the poor. Instead, they adopted Medicaid Silver. Well, the Medicaid Silver plan targeted low income, chronically ill adults ages 54. It might have been 56 to 65. It was something, the numbers flipped somehow. And it denied. Now, Supreme Court of the United States said, oh, no, this is bullshit. Montana, Steve Daines, I will never forget. I had it in my other computer. The newspaper article, Daines signs into law in defiance of SCOTUS. And what they had done was they did an addendum that anybody who was homeless or too sick to work could get medical assistance if they paid $250 a month. And I kept that photograph. He and these women, he signed that into law, laughing. Now, I was one of those people affected by it, but I was still going to university. University of Montana charged me something like $4,000 a semester for bullshit insurance. A 20-year-old, 30-year-old could get the same exact insurance through, financial aid, whatever, for like $200. a semester. But during that time, I can't remember exactly what year it was because I wound up leaving. So it ended in 2015 or 16. I know 2 people who died of being denied health care. I mean, you were completely locked out. A doctor would not see you because if they did, and they were like a sliding scale clinic, Medicaid would pull everything and then they would lose all their Medicaid, all of it, if they treated anybody. That was targeting people our age, and it was targeting us so that we would die and not get Social Security. So I wrote a thing. I am Barb Dwyer. I am that Barb Dwyer. And I wrote a thing about it, a rant. And I called it Murder by Proxy. Because then the same guy, Steve Daines, wrote another law. And it was like they wrote the law so that, and I don't remember, but they wrote the law so that they had to see to it these people received zero medical attention. So, and I named it Murder by Proxy. And yeah, my first thing was, what do you do with the cow when you can't get milk? I mean, it's Montana cattle. What happens to the cow when the farmer can no longer take milk from her? What happens? That's what they were doing. We were a targeted age group. And it went up Supreme Court. It got proven. It got rewritten. And they still refused to change it. GOTUS decisions before. This one I wasn't a fan of. And so I wrote this. I don't remember how long it was because that which moves through me is who wrote it. But before I was Barb Dwyer back in Atlanta, I subcontracted, independent contracted at this kind of up and coming place that not many people knew of called Channel 13, which turned into Turner Broadcasting, which turned into CNN. And I would still freelance with them. Like, there was this big machine that would put the credits at the end of videos and stuff, and I could, type. I did voiceovers. So, or sometimes I would just write, little ad things. I know what chains to rattle. I wrote it all out, did my spell check, and I didn't care what I said in it. It was murder by proxy. And so I sent it a copy. Senator John Tester, idiot, Daines, the ex-governor. I wish we had him again. I think I sent one to Steve Bullock, who's the governor now. So I went through like Montana government. Then I went back through Georgia government that I knew because my sister did work for a Supreme Court justice down there. I knew a few names to pull. CNN, AP, UPI, RT, Al Jazeera, BBC. I'm not kidding. I mean, it was like CC, and I mean, it was almost as long as the rant. And out it went. And shortly after that, my apartment got broken into, and my computer hard drive got destroyed. Oh, yeah, like I didn't save like 15 copies all over the internet. Left school, yada, yada. And then by the time I found a doctor who would see me at all, even paying cash in Missoula, they would not see you. Wouldn't see me. I finally found one. And she goes, well, let us go to our meeting and then I can, I can let you know after the weekend, and I went, I don't know if I should say her name. I'm just not gonna say her name. But she was my doctor in Missoula. I said, "I'm not gonna be alive after this weekend. You can either see me right now run a complete gone a full year with no thyroid medication at all." And I was dying and I knew it. And I mean, when the fucking door opens, you fucking know. And to her credit, she snuck me in, did the blood test, and my TSH came back. That was when it came back. I think it was 150 or 160. I was legally dead. That time, and I did the same shit. I stayed on the positive side. I, did the creativity stuff and had to depend on the friend who turned out to be a jerk crook. But I had no choice at the time. Because if I went in a shelter, she would have stolen my shit anyway. But same thing, same interest in me, at least a quarter so far that we know of, until I get a bloodline done, because I don't think my family has told me the truth about my bloodline. I've got enough Irish in me to at least be one quarter. So that's like my left leg. And I got enough Irish in me to be one ornery bitch when somebody starts pushing me around. And I made up my mind that I will be goddamned if insectile pieces of walking, talking excrement, which I call excrementals, will determine whether I live or die. They have not earned the right to clean my toilet, much less decide whether I live or not. And that did in 2006. I will do this. It has meant anger, although I do say, these ain't my time. I do say, and it just really stirs up AA people for some reason. Resentment is my rocket fuel. Now, I don't know what the hell you people do when you're pissed off, but I turn it into something that they cannot benefit from. But it keeps me going. And from what you've told me, whether you've told me the whole whatever or not, it was, yeah, it was malpractice, but it could have been carelessness, whatever, that made you so sick in the first fucking place. And if that's not enough to at least have you pissed off enough, go read Norman Cousins. The last bit of this is, I did do my political stuff, but when I did the political stuff, it was because of those who had infiltrated what we tried to create and destroyed it. It was not to make that change anymore. I was going to personally see to it that those pieces of shit didn't hurt anybody else. And I withstood a lot of personal abuse from those assholes. A lot. Holy shit, I am strong as fuck. I'm not into retribution. I'm not into that. I leave that to Sekhmet. She takes care of that for me. I leave that. And like I say, I am the most protected person I know. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't justify it anymore. I just am. But I made up my mind. I will be damned. if those pieces of shit decide whether I can continue to make art or not. So I feel that spending time reading articles and getting all wound up about politics is worse than counterproductive when you're in this condition. So that's going to take some decision making. What is more important? What has all that changed? What will my being here for my immediate family over the next chaotic years? Which one served life, others, and beauty? Now, I'm sitting over here, I can clearly see it. And like I say, the only thing we have to change is easy. It's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. It was easier for me because I had unscrupulous exes, and at the time I lived over here on these apartments on Trevonian, a slumlord who stole all my shit, and that stuff, and just like house after house, here, I'll help you and steal all your stuff. Well, that makes it a lot easier. It doesn't make it easier to stomach, but it just makes it easier to do the purge and make the decision. So that's my advice. Read up on Norman Cousins. What I see, what I feel, is that nobody can make that decision except you. Nobody. No matter how bad it is. I've never seen people be as wrong as doctors. So, yeah, okay, great, thanks. But I know for a fact the body is in mind, and you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts. And I know that you already know a lot of this, but I think that a lot of this that you only know in theory and not in practice, not in practical application. And this is where the shit jumps out of the book and into your body. I mean, it's literally a matter of life and death. Now, I'm Irish enough that you can piss me off enough, and I'm fucking bull. Can kind of say the same thing about Scott. I have that blood too. If I ever break my sobriety date, it'll be to go back. It'll be to go to Scotland. Well, first I have to go to Manchester, England, and pick up my friend because I want to get thrown out of Scotland. But I want to go back and reclaim our castle and see what happens. That's a whole nother story, but I don't really identify with that ancestry that much, except for that. It's a woman of power. The decision is yours, nobody else's. How you choose to walk it is your choice. And you will never see me interfere with anybody with that. I know what I had to do and how far I had to go. But what is a lot of work when the alternative is not being here anymore? And while I am prepared, and that is one thing being that sick for 5 years will do, you are fucking ready. And it's hard to scare somebody like me now. And that's that last step of the warrior, accepting death as an ally. Accepting death as an ally is not kicking back and letting a diagnosis direct your stance. Accepting death as an ally is what I did. And that's going back through life and making the broken parts make sense. If there's anyone you owe an apology to, find them, give it, be sincere. If there's anyone that owes you an apology, let it go. I mean, how important is it really? And that one's constant. Trust me on that, because that keeps popping up with me too. But decide. Choose. Choice is, it's an idea. It's a sacred thing to me. It's very sacred. Choice is, I want to say, amorphous. It's, I want to say, permeable, transitory. The decision is when it becomes physical, real, when it completely enters this world. So there's choice out here in the background, and then there's decision. And that's when you put down, if your mind, put down the bottle, you put down whatever is bringing you harm, and the next right thing is becoming clean, whatever. Only you know your entire story. I don't need to know it. I don't sense that for you. I sense that you're supposed to be here for this. But I also sense that is all fine and good if you want to feel good. But when it comes down to changing shit, then you got to throw down and you got to get really, really fucking real. And I think it's time for that. Welcome to Barb's world. I'm there all the time. So there you go. And there's my story. The doctor said when I got sober, I left work the day that I've only been fired twice in all the years that I've ever worked. That one I got fired for and deserved it. I took my last $40. I stopped one of those bigger than a fifth. It was this big around size bottle of Grey Goose vodka. And it was either a can or one of those bigger type bottles, but not quite a liter of Diet Coke. Because I liked my vodka on the rocks, a little dirty. And I went home. Now, I had 2 customers at the time at the bar who tipped me. And they were dying of cancer, both of them. They tipped me in morphine, hydrocodone, Oxycontin. What was that trapezoid shaped one? Oh, well, anyway, it was just, and I would just go home and I would put it in, you probably had one. I had a metal lifted it up and it had like, it was a little bit smaller than this. And it was for like your jewelry, whatever. But that's where I put a lot of those pills that they gave me. And I used those pills to get that got me through my hangovers in the morning. So I get home. I lost everything. I lost my reputation and a job. And then I had no reason to be alive anymore. And I started going through the house, cleaning everything, putting all my stuff in little, you know, with a note. This is such and such. I owe this to this bedroom's clean. This is clean. This belongs to like, I would like my son to get this. As far as I know, this is where he lives, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Eating those pills. I ate those pills. I ate 2 brand new bottles of ibuprofen. I ate a full bottle of vitamins. Every pill in the house I ate that day. And I woke up the next day because I fully intended to end it. I had called family and they're like, well, we can't help you. Yeah. As long as they didn't have anything that they could get off me, then they couldn't help me. I'd never asked any of those people for help. So somehow I woke up the next day and I was in the bathroom. And I swear to God, I don't know, but I always laugh when I say this. Those old cheapy Bic shavers with like 2 razor blades in it. You get them at the dollar store. 2 of those were out. My fingers were really cut up because I was trying to break it apart. The bathtub was full of water. And I'm pretty sure I was going to get in there and like cut wrist because I just kept not dying. And somehow I passed out. Even more bizarre, I woke up. And it took some serious time for me to get off the floor that morning. But I've told doctors about it. And they're like, well, how much do you think the dosage was? And I went, I don't know. I had 2 bins like this full. And morphine is just teeny tiny little pills. Oh, Halcyon, that was the other one. And I took them all. They were all gone. There was not one pill in that house the next day. No, 3 of them, 3 doctors said. Well, 2 said, I have no medical explanation why you're alive at all. But you're alive. And I said, because spirit is not finished with me. I don't get to say when I go. Spirit does. The infinite does. And I worked with a girl at the, believe it or not, the cleaning supper. And where do I get a job? Liquor store. Girl. I don't remember how much younger she was than me. She was just like 15 years younger than me or so. She wasn't like a kid. I just say girl. And, I knew that, I'm the only one whose sobriety is any of my business. She was having trouble with her boyfriend, and I talked to her. I stayed after and talked to her one night. And she wasn't at work. And she had gone home, and she took the same meds that I did, nowhere near as much. OD'd. I can't remember if it was oxycodone or oxycontin or that other one that I can't think of the name of, that trapezoid-shaped one. Nowhere near as much. And she utterly destroyed her kidneys. She was paralyzed on her left side, and she was never going to walk normally. She would be on dialysis for the rest of her days. And I'll never forget how that impacted me when I think about how much I ate on an empty stomach and drank an entire fifth, more than a fifth, of straight vodka with a little dash of Diet Coke. And I woke up and everything worked. You really contemplate that shit. And I thought about how hard that hit me, that she had gone home and done that. And I didn't tell her my story or anything like that. I just listened, while she talked because she had boyfriend problems. And I'll tell you, I was way over boyfriends at that point. 13 years later, I'm still over boyfriends. But I can't describe it. I mean, 13 years later, I can't describe, the big letter Y hanging over my head because I knew why. I have lived the life of a warrior, a spiritual being here manifest to experience form, but that something, no, the constant knowledge is something was going to happen and that I had a part in it. And that was why I'm here. I know that's what did it. So I know something's scarier than just deciding to let the cards go where they're going to go. And well, if it's my time, then I'm just going to, I'll just go when it's my time. Number one, it's a lie. Number two, I know something scarier than trying to kill yourself. And that is waking up. And that is not succeeding. That's scarier. And what has that got to do with a decision? I'm not exactly sure. But there are people who are more afraid of whatever that blackness inside, that black spot, that always hide. There are people who are more afraid of what that might be than they are dying. That choice didn't come to me in that way. The choice came to me because I had those spots. The choice, as I saw it, was if I didn't find a way through that black stuff to open the impossible, to open those impossible spots, that I would just come here again. And for most of this life, I haven't wanted to come back. As a dream teacher, okay, yeah, I could do that, but not like this again. I don't know how to describe it, but I know that you know what I'm talking about. There are those places within us that have always held us back. that we could never surpass no matter what we did. And that too was coming down to making the decision. There is a way through it. And it's not, I just give my life to this and everything's going to be just fine. Fuck that. Mm-mm. That is not it. This shit is earned. It's worth it. So there you go. There's my story. Norman Cousins is your dude. It will lead you other places. And I know that you have a lifetime of your beliefs and all that. But I also know that you led a life, a materialistic life. I would take a few days, read up on Norman Cousins and business. I'm here. You know, if you want to talk to somebody, whatever, I'm here. And I don't blame you if you don't. But for whatever you ask, you've been a good friend to me, and I'm a good friend to you. So, you see why I didn't want to write it down? I will eventually. But full moon, watch a few times, make some notes, or go, fuck that, and go get a big bottle of vodka. I actually had somebody ask me in a meeting. It's like, and I'd never told anybody the whole story. And this one guy, I will love him forever for it. It was a big meeting. It was like 50 people or something. And I'd never told the whole story. And he goes, Barb, I just have to ask you this. And I'm like, okay. He goes, why Diet Coke? I mean, if you're going to go home, you're going to drink yourself to death, you're going to kill yourself, why not get the full flavor? Why diet? I think I laughed for 30 minutes and I really kind of couldn't answer him other than it was just a taste I got used to. Laughter is the most powerful sword of the warrior. So anyway, choose wisely, and I'm around, and it's okay. I won't ask you about anything. So if I can leave this public because nobody knows who I'm talking to anyway. And this unstable connection thing, that really pisses me off. But yeah. And there you go. Thanks for listening through this. I love you. Bye.